Becky and today we're going to be doing the History of My Bookshelf challenge. This was started by Emma Books. I'll link her original video down below. Before we get started, I'm just going to say I'm sorry if this is on an angle because I don't know a tripod, so my phone's just resting on top of the back of my chair with a tissue box behind it to keep it in place. Leading on from that, I'm sorry you can see so much of my bedroom and that I don't know how to stand. But anyway, this is my bookshelf. Wow, yay. A whole 4 shelves and then one at the bottom that you can't see that has my unread books. The only excuse I have for it being this small and me still thinking I'm allowed on BookTube is that I didn't read anything but Cassandra Clare books for like 2 years, and so now this is what we're left with. Those top 3 shelves are everything I read to the age of 16, and then that shelf at the bottom is everything I've read since. So that's why there's so little, because I didn't read for a while. Which does make me think that this might be kind of difficult. It's also the reason why I don't do many like bookshelfy challenges, because I don't own that many. But because this one is based entirely on books I've read, I should be able to do it because there is books that I've read. However, because a lot of these questions are year-based, I do think I'm going to have to like take out the like 1 book per series rule. Like I said, I read Cassandra Clare books for 2 years, so there's going to be some sort of overlapping of series there, I imagine. I'll do my best, but I'm kind of assuming that I'm going to have to throw that rule out the window. So I'm going to use my sister's phone as a timer. I was going to try and use her Alexa Dot, but I forgot that has to stay plugged in and I can't hear it from here. So I've stole her phone instead. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long. I feel like I say that now at the beginning of every video and then it takes too long, but we'll see. Right, timer started. Here we go. Oldest book on your shelf. Oh no, I gave it away. Did I give it? We found it, right. Magic Faraway Tree. A book you read in 2013. How old was I in 2013? I was 11 turning 12. What did I read when I was 11? Harry Potter. Brilliant. Might be a bit early to be taking Harry Potter out of the game, but you know. A book you read in 2014, so I was 12 turning 13. 12. Right, okay, yeah. The Hunger Games. A book you read in 2015, so I was 13 in 2015 and I read Divergent when I was 13, and then I unhauled Divergent a week ago. Anything else I read in 2015? Did I read? I don't think I read. Oh dear. It's too early to have these issues. Nothing on that shelf because that's the last 2 years. The Hobbit. 2016. So I was 14, and that was these guys. City of Bones. Right, 2017. I was 15. Like, I swear to God, my math is better than this. This is what I mean. What? Yeah. The Bane Chronicles, yeah. 2018, so I was 16, and that will have been one of these again. Oh wait, no. Right, there we go. Different series, not Cassandra Clare. Secret Second Life of Bree Tanner. I remember the names of my books. Book I read in 2019. This I know. I know what I read in 2019. I read all of these, so I can just take my pick. We'll just take a pick. Call Down the Hawk by Steve Arthur. A book you read more than once. There's only 2 and I've already used 1. There we go. Clockwork Angel. I reread this and City of Bones this year. A book you waited over a year to be published. This is a problem because I'm kind of, if you've seen my other videos, you know that I've sort of been catching up on books I missed whilst I wasn't reading that much, so I don't really read anything new that like has another book to come out. I've only started doing that this year, which means it hasn't been a year that I've been waiting. So I don't know if there is. Oh wait, it's okay. Ghosts of the Shadow Market. The book you read on vacation or away from home. Most of my books, because I do most of my reading on holiday, but more recently, The Raven Boys, Maggie Steve Arthur. 12, a book you got somewhere special. I buy most of my books are either for Christmas or I buy them on Amazon or in Waterstones. So I don't know if I have any that bought somewhere special. Has to be one. There has to be one that I've not bought in an obvious place. Right. This might be cheating a bit, but I'm gonna go with my other edition of Call Down the Hog. Right, 13, a book that made you cry. Kingdom of Ash. That was the one I kind of knew was coming. 14, a book you read in one sitting. It usually takes me a very long time. That's why graphic novels are great. A book that was a gift. Like I just said, I get most of my books for Christmas, so the majority of these were in fact gifts. Oh no, I actually bought that. Hang on a minute. Okay. No, I bought that myself. Oh dear, maybe I got less for Christmas than I thought. I think I'm just massively caused myself a problem. No. Oh no, oh dear. City of Bones Special Edition. 16, a book that you read before owning. Right, so, slight problem with this question. I kind of want to do a video talking about this, but like, long story short, I have Asperger's, and so one thing I struggle with is having things that aren't my own, which makes no sense, and I can't really explain it. But it means that I don't really use libraries or borrow books because it stresses me out so much. So I don't think I own a book that like I read before I owned it, that I've borrowed from somewhere, because I don't borrow books. I give books away to be borrowed, but I don't borrow them myself. I don't think I actually have an answer for this one. Oh wait, school books, school reads that I was probably supposed to return. Jekyll and Hyde. 17, a book you lent to someone else. This would have been easy because I'm always lending books to other people at the moment. However, because of that, the two that I'm always lending aren't on my bookshelf because they're currently being lent. So without them here, and the only other one I've ever lent out is Clockwork Angel, which I've already used. Oh dear. Okay, I'm gonna like cheat, technically, and I'm gonna say Six of Crows, but I'm not gonna take it off my shelf because it's currently being lent to someone else. But I think that's a fair enough reason. Six of Crows, it's not here, but that's my answer. 18, a book that has been damaged. This would be easier if I had the original copies of Harry Potter that I read, like the Bloomsbury UK ones, that like everybody over the age of 30 has somewhere damaged in their household in the UK. But they're somewhere in the loft, so I don't have them on my bookshelf. So other than them, very small amount of damage, but nonetheless technically damaged. Mockingjay. A book you got discounted. The Dream Thieves, Maggie Stiefvater. I know I just used the Raven Boys, but 20, a book you read with someone else, example buddy reading, or book club. I've never buddy read anything, but I did technically attend a book club in year 5, I think. Yeah, right, so Pegasus by Kate O'Hearn. 21, a book you associate with a song. Oh. There isn't a story behind this one, but it needs explaining, but Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. A book you associate with a food. It's good I didn't use this earlier, isn't it? Lady Midnight, Cassandra Clare. Again, probably needs explaining. A book you got years ago that you probably wouldn't buy now. And I just used it. It's already being used. Not Lady Midnight. It was used earlier than Lady Midnight. But to be fair, it's on the same vein. On the same vein. City of Ashes. 24, a book you associate with a specific time in your life. Again, I've already used it. So, hang on a minute. I think everybody associates Twilight with a specific time in their life. 25, a book you used to like but don't anymore. Again, I've already used it. This would be easier if I hadn't just unhauled a load of books a week ago. I had a load of like crappy YA series I read when I was like 12 that I unhauled. So now I'm just like left with the things that I like enough to keep, which means I don't have any that I wouldn't have now because I got rid of them. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. Cheating a little bit. Serpent and Dove, Shelby Mahorin. 26, the newest book on your shelf. It's not on my shelf, but it's here. Queen of Nothing, Holly Black. And that's it. Oh no, I buried my phone onto the box. Found it. Taking off the time I just spent like looking for it. We're looking at roughly 11 minutes and 20 seconds, which is a very long time to find 26 books. Hello. I thought I might as well just keep the camera where it is and film the second half of this from here. So we're going to quickly go through why I like chose these specific books. I'll be as quick as possible because this always goes on for too long. So question 1 was the oldest book on your shelf, and I went for The Magic Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton. This was, I think, my mum's copy. I read these they were read to me when I was younger. And I've just kind of kept this one because, I don't know, nostalgia purposes, I suppose. So that's definitely the oldest one, on my shelf. So question 2 was a book you read in 2013, and I chose Harry Potter. I was 11 in 2013, and I read these when I was 11. I think I read all of them in that 1 year. These aren't the copies I read. I actually read the original Bloomsbury ones. They were my mum's copies, so I read them, and then I got the new snazzy ones a few years ago. I'm not gonna bother explaining what Harry Potter's about because I think you know what Harry Potter's. Who doesn't know what Harry Potter's about? But in general, of course, I enjoyed it. It took me longer to read. The first few I thought were quite slow because by the time I read these, I kind of was sort of above that reading level a little bit. To put it into perspective, I read Twilight the next year. So Philosopher's Stone took me a while because I thought it dragged a little bit. But by the time I got to book 4 onwards, I really enjoyed them. Book 4 was my favourite. But yeah, Harry Potter. Right, question 3, a book you read in 2014, and I chose The Hunger Games. I was 12 then, and I remember reading The Hunger Games around then because I went to see Mockingjay, part 2, in cinemas for one of my birthdays around them, and I definitely read them. Yeah, this one's a bit battered. I could have used this as well for the damaged one because it's not in the best of standards, but that is mainly because I absolutely devoured this on holiday, and so when I was all wrecked and covered in sun cream and things. I will say, if you like the movies, I've had a lot of people say to me are they worth it, reading the books? Absolutely. I did struggle a bit because it's in first person, and if I'm correct, yeah, it's also in present tense, which cannot stand first person present tense, but it is definitely a good book. It's one of the books with that tense that I actually enjoyed reading. So I do think if you enjoyed the movies, definitely read the books, especially with the prequel coming out next year. I'm so excited about that. Next is a book you read in 2015, and I chose The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien. This I chose because everything else I read that year I have on hold. Basically all I read that year I think was Divergent, and I recently got rid of that series. I didn't actually finish this. I DNF'd The Hobbit, just because I thought it was quite slow. I haven't tried to read Lord of the Rings, but I do have those as well, which is why I've also kept this. And I would like to try and read it at some point because I know that my dad read this when he was younger. That's why I have them. Yeah, I didn't actually get all the way through it. In fact, I got a whole 16 pages I got into this. So, yeah, maybe I should try and reread this at some point because that is absolutely abysmal. Yeah. So question 5 is a book you read in 2016, and in 2016 I read City of Bones. I know this because I read it before the show came out. The reason for that is that a few of my friends had read this back in the day. I'd said no to reading it every time. I had a friend who was oh my god, you've got to read this, it's really cool, there's a movie about it now. And the reason I didn't read these is entirely because of the original covers. Unpopular opinion, I cannot stand any of the original covers for Cassandra Clare's books. And the reason it took me so long to pick up City of Bones is because before I had this version, I had to get the original cover, which is just Jace Herondale's abs, and it just didn't give a good vibe. I kept looking at the book thinking, I don't know what you're about, but based on the cover, I don't think I want to read that. But I did eventually read it, and it ended up being one of my favourite books ever. I almost picked this for a few other answers, including the likes of a book you wouldn't buy now, and books that I no longer like. And that is because I did reread this this year. As you can see, I DNF'd it at page 400 because that's where the tabs end. And I feel like I'm going to take this moment just to say that I slag Cassandra Clare's books off so much, and I don't know why, because they are genuinely some of my favourite books just because of the whole period of my life that they kind of took up. So that's just a thing, because I find I've done so many videos about the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and in every one of them I just end up slagging them off. And so I'm taking the moment to say, as much as I didn't enjoy this when I reread it, it was my favourite book back in the day. I still read all of her books, I still enjoy them. I swear. In the same vein, question 6 is a book you read in 2017, and I read The Bane Chronicles, again by Cassandra Clare. This I loved. This I kind of want to reread. For a start, obviously, it's a collection of short stories about Magnus Bane, and they're all just so funny. Magnus isn't my favourite of the Shadowrunner Chronicles characters, but he's up there because of his humour, and this was like the first book to make me actually laugh aloud at times. So I do think if you've read Cassandra Clare's like main books and you enjoyed them, the spin-offs like this and the other two are definitely worth reading, especially this one, because it was interesting, but it was also really funny, so pick it up. Question 7 is a book you read in 2018, and for this I chose The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner by Stephenie Meyer. This is one of the like spin-offs from Twilight. I read this because I loved Twilight back in the day. It was like one of my favourite series of all time. I kind of want to reread them a bit. This actually kind of made me cry. If you haven't read the books, or you have and you don't remember who Bree Tanner is, she is one of the vampires that works with, like, the evil clan. I don't remember enough about the books to describe them, but it was in Eclipse. They had that war, and there was some other newly turned vampires involved in it because Victoria had turned someone and then he turned a load of people. Bree Tanner was one of the young girls who were involved in that. Did the Cullens, I think they chose to kill her at the end. So this is kind of all about her living in that clan as a newly turned, like, young vampire up until right at the end when she's murdered. And, like, obviously I knew it was coming because I'd read, like, Twilight. It's still sad. But yeah, I think if you enjoyed them, because I know a lot of people, like, didn't enjoy Twilight for, you know, very valid reasons, but if you did and you like them and you haven't read this yet, then I would also say that's worth it as just like a little extra bit. Right, question 8, a book you read in 2019. I read Called on the Hog by Maggie Stiefvater. I just recently finished this. This is the series following on from the Raven Cycle, the Dreamer trilogy, and it focuses on the 3 Lynch brothers, mainly Ronan Lynch, and this guy called Bride, who's kind of like trying to teach him more about his powers and about dreamers themselves. This was so good. Like I said, this is the last thing I read. It was a really good book. I did do a review of it. I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing. I know some people don't like it. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I also really like Ronan as well, so this was very, very good, actually. I feel like I should have more to say about it, but I just don't. It was just a good book. I'm trying to do this quickly, so if every one of these is just, it was a good book, that's why. Question 9, a book you've read more than once, and I chose Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This I read for my English language A-level coursework. I had to write like a whole essay about Jem and Will. I didn't have to, I chose to. That's why it's all tabbed up, and that's the entire reason I read it, because I don't usually reread books. I didn't enjoy as much as I did the first time I read it, but I kind of went into it expecting that. Again, I do have a vlog of this. I wouldn't recommend watching it though because it's long and it's boring, but it's there. I still stand by saying that The Infernal Devices is one of the better series in the Shadowrunner Chronicles, but I just didn't enjoy it as much as I did the first time around. I couldn't tell you why. I think it's mainly down to the fact that obviously I knew what happened, which is why I don't usually reread series, because I already know what's gonna happen. Yeah, I do think, and I like say this quite a lot when people are like, oh, I should read the Shadowrunner Chronicles, what order should I read them in? I tend to say that The Infernal Devices is worth reading now more than The Mortal Instruments, because it's slightly more mature, slightly better written, in my opinion, and City of Bones is interesting. And I just think it's still, yeah, I reread both of them this year, and this was definitely my favourite out of the two of them. Yeah. Right, question 10, a book you waited over a year to be published. This is getting ridiculous, but Ghosts of the Shadow Market by Cassandra Clare. I swear all of these, this is what I mean though. I only read Cassandra Clare books for 2 years. Oh god, I'm so invalid as a reader. But yeah, Ghosts of the Shadow Market. This, I remember seeing rumours going around about it, about like, oh, Cassandra Clare's thinking about making a short story bind-up about Jem Carstairs. And I was like, that's not true, she doesn't care enough about Jem Carstairs. And then it was announced, and I shut down for about 24 hours over it. Jem Carstairs is just my everything. He is the only valid fictional man. I would marry him if he showed up at my door. I will talk about other fictional men throughout my videos, but just know that every one of them isn't as good as Jem Carstairs. And so yeah, naturally I was very excited about this, and I read it very quickly. And there is also a review about this, which is, I think it's actually my most watched video, and I don't even know why, because all I did was talk about how much I love Jem Carstairs for about 40 minutes. But yeah, again, another spin-off. If you read the Shadowrunner Chronicles and enjoyed them, definitely worth reading, especially because of the insight it gives into Jem. So again, if you're also a fan of Jem, give my boy the attention he deserves. Right, question 11, a book you read on vacation or away from home. And for this, I chose The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I read the whole of the Raven Cycle series on holiday this year. I believe I gave this 4 stars just because the end flops, I find, all the time. If you don't know what the Raven Cycle is about, it's about a sidekick called Blue who meets these like private school boys who are looking for ley lines that they believe a dead Welsh king is buried on, and it's about them like hunting for this dead Welsh king. And I do just find that with most of these books, other than The Dream Thieves, I gave 5 stars, all the others were 4 stars, entirely because the end kind of feels like it flops every single time. That is something that I do think of. Like I said, Call Down the Hawk is the new one, and that was like great the whole way through. I do definitely still really enjoy these, and I do kind of want to reread this one at some point. I do think that they're a case of a very strong book if you like character driven things, like the plot's all over the place. Then towards the end it just kind of like wilts a bit. Yeah, I do want to reread this. If I reread this, you'll know about it. Question 12 is a book you got somewhere special. This I kind of cheated a little bit, and I went for my special edition of Call Down the Hawk. This is from the Owl Crate box. That's why I chose it, because it's technically somewhere special because it came in an Owl Crate box that I bought instead of me buying it online. It's not the same as like buying it somewhere special that I imagine was intended, but yeah, that's technically how I'm counting it, because I got it in an Owl Crate box. Question 13 is a book that made you cry, and I chose Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. This is, I chose it literally because I sobbed like a baby. Obviously I can't spoil it, I can't even say much about it because it's the last book in the series. This is the Throne of Glass series, this is book 7, so we're following Aelin Galathynius as she's trying to reclaim Terrasen. It just gets sad, there's a lot of battling in this book. It was one of my favourite books of the year, and it just gets sad. There's a lot of character deaths, and I actually sobbed, so that's why I chose that. Question 14 is a book you read in one sitting, and for that I chose Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. This is just because it's the only book I've ever read in one sitting, because it's a graphic novel. It usually takes me now like a week and a half to read like a 300 to 400 page book. It used to take me like months. I'm faster with it now, but I'm not fast enough that I'm like reading a book in a day. And so that's why I've found that I quite like these. This is the only graphic novel I've read. That's because I haven't managed to buy volume 2 yet, but I will be. It's just super cute. Every time I mention this, I think that's how I've described it. It follows 2 boys, Charlie and Nick. I believe they're in year 10 and 11 at school, and it's just like a super cute romance, basically. And I don't read much contemporary for a start, and I don't read graphic novels, so this was like everything I've never read before in one, and I just really enjoyed it. And once I get my hands on volume 2, you'll definitely know about it. Question 15 is a book that was a gift, and for this I chose the 10th anniversary edition of City of Bones. I got this for Christmas 2 years ago, I think, and it's really cute. There's pictures in the front, if I can get it to open. Love the fun pictures in it, which I really like the art style that kind of comes with all of these. I haven't actually read this version. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I recently reread City of Bones, so I know what I would have been getting into. But yeah, it looks very pretty on my shelf, so not gonna complain. Question 16 is a book you read before owning, and for this I went with Jekyll and Hyde by R.L. Stevenson. This I read for school. We did this for GCSE along with An Inspector Calls and Macbeth by Shakespeare. Yeah, it was alright. It was my favourite out of them. I think I quite like the gothic literature vibe that this has going on. It's short, which is also great. I think when you're reading something for school, the shorter it is, the better it is. But yeah, this did inspire a book that I also wrote myself. So yeah, interesting characters, interesting storyline. Would I reread it? No, I already read it like 5 times to school, which kind of ruined it. But I think if I'd read this not for school, I still would have enjoyed it, which isn't something I can say about the other books I read for school. Question 17 is a book you lent to someone, and for this I chose Six of Crows, which I don't have in my hand because it's currently being lent to someone. Six of Crows I've now lent to two people, my friends Abby and Lauren. Lauren currently has it, Abby has Crooked Kingdom. So that's why there's like a gaping hole on my bookshelf. There's currently lots of gaping holes on my bookshelf because of this. But at the beginning there was one massive hole next to my like Shadow and Bone series, and that's where those two go. And that's why I'm choosing it, because technically I own it. I just don't happen to have it with me at the time because it's being lent. Question 18 is a book that has been damaged, and for this I chose Mockingjay. As you can see, it's not like overly damaged. It's just a bit like chipped and things at the corners, for the same reason that The Hunger Games is, and that I read this on holiday and I just kind of let it get slightly ruined in a way that I wouldn't now. This book very nearly made me cry. It also scared me. I was like 12 when I read this, and it was scary. Absolutely hate some of the decisions that were made by Suzanne Collins in this book, namely involving a man by the name of Finico Dare, but we're not going to discuss it any further, so... Question 19 is a book you got discounted, and for this I chose The Dream Thieves. That is because all 4 of the Raven Cycle books I got for a tenner off my friend, because she read the first one and didn't like them and was selling them, and I was like, I'll have them, and yeah, so I got them all cheap. So again, thank you, Lauren. Question 20 is a book you read with someone else, and for this I chose Pegasus by Kate O'Hearn. This was the first book I read that was like a novel. I kind of give this book some of the credit for like getting me properly into reading. I read this in year 5. I was kind of forced to be a part of a book club that the school was running, and like once a week or something we went to the local library and we'd pick books for each other. This was chosen for me just because I'd said that I liked animal books, and one of the lads had been like, that's an animal, it's a Pegasus. And I remember looking at it being like, this is absolutely not the kind of thing I read. What I meant by animal books is like those kids books that's like, we lost a kitten, and it's like 5 pages long. But I was like, okay, I'll read it. He picked it, fine, I'll read it. And I absolutely adored it. And then I read most of the rest of the series. The reason I didn't finish it is because by the time the last book came out, I'd kind of like grown out of it. But yeah, I absolutely adored them, and that led me to read more. And so yeah, question 21, I'm trying to work faster because this is going to be such a long video. But question 21 is a book you associate with a song, and for this I chose Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. So the reason that I associate this with a song isn't actually because of the content, but entirely because of the title. For whatever reason, when I was reading it, every time I was like, I'll pick up Ruin and Rising again, my brain would start singing Kill 'Em With Kindness by Selena Gomez. For ages I was like, why does this keep happening? Why do I keep getting that song stuck in my head? And I realised it's because the title and the song have like the same rhythm. So like Ruin and Rising, Kill 'Em With Kindness. And it was just some weird association that my brain made, and once I worked it out, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. So that's why I chose this, because every time somebody mentions this book, my brain still sings that song. So you're welcome if that happens to you now. Question 22 is a book you associate with a food, and for this, when I hold it the right way around, I chose Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. I chose this just because of the line, too much coffee, not enough pancakes, which is a line spoken when one of the main characters is dying in the back of a car. I think the reason it's stuck in my brain is because it's kind of at a moment where like literally 5 minutes, about 2 pages before that scene, I decided the dying character was the new love of my life. And I was like, wow, I've never read a character like you. I like this guy. And then he nearly died 5 minutes later. So I was in a really bad emotional state. And then they were just joking about food. And it just kind of stuck in my head. So yeah, whenever I think of this book, I just think of that line now. So yeah, food. Question 23 is a book you got years ago that you probably wouldn't buy now, and for this I chose City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare. This is because I couldn't choose City of Bones by Cassandra Clare because I've already used that, but it kind of works that if I hadn't bought that I wouldn't have bought this either. Just because for a start, City of Bones is kind of like below my reading age now. Anyway, I read it when I was 14, if I read this entire series when I was 14, and I absolutely adored them, and since then I've read every Cassandra Clare book, and I continue to read every Cassandra Clare book because I still really enjoy them. This series, not so much anymore, as we learned from me trying to reread City of Bones, and remembering some things in it that I didn't forget about, but I think I must have just like brushed under the carpet the first time around. That being said, like I said before, I do still enjoy the Shadowhunter Chronicles just not particularly the first few Mortal Instruments books. 24 is a book you associate with a specific time in your life, and for this I chose Twilight by Stephenie Meyer. This I read when I was about 12 as well, I think, and adored. I read all 4 of them in the space of about a fortnight, which was really fast for me back then. It still is really fast for me, and I just loved them so much. I had a whole Twilight phase. I watched all the movies. I think I still have them on DVD. I kind of want to do a rewatch. I also kind of want to do a reread. I blame them for why I'm still obsessed with vampires now. Is this the best bit of literature on the face of the planet? No. Do I love Edward Cullen still? Yes. Question 25 is a book you used to like but don't anymore. I didn't have a proper answer for this just because I recently did an unhaul of all the books that I no longer like that I had before. So instead I had to go for just a book I owned that I don't like, and that I went for Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I've talked about this before. I just didn't like it. I thought it was the biggest disappointment of my year, book-wise. It was bad. Yeah, I literally only own it still because it's a really fun, sparkly edition, and I feel a bit bad throwing it out. So I kind of want to, I don't know, give it away, or I might just end up donating it somewhere. But yeah, technically not one that I owned before and liked but don't anymore, because when I read this I didn't like it. It was the only one I had. So yeah, that. And finally, at the end of what I know is going to be a horrifically long video, and I'm sorry, but question 26 is the newest book on your bookshelf, and for this I went with Queen of Nothing by Holly Black because it's the newest book on my bookshelf. This came the 15th, I think. I went to get in Waterstones. It was in early because all of Europe had this book early. I am halfway through this. Yes, I do dog ear my pages, and I am enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying it about the same amount as I enjoyed the others, which is a little okay, maybe that's a bit mean. It's okay. I am enjoying it. It's that kind of enjoyment where I've read better things, but I'm still looking forward to picking it up. So I class that as a good book, I guess. I think the only thing I trip up with this series is I don't really like Holly Black's writing style. Again, this is first person present tense, and I mentioned earlier, cannot stand first person present tense. But I'm getting through it because there's other things in it I like. Yeah, I think if you've read the other 2 books, this one is worth it. Even though I haven't finished it yet, I'd say from what I've seen so far, it's the same standard. Do I think the whole series is worth reading? I mean, it depends on what you like, I guess. Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that one. But on that note, that is it. Finally made it to the end of this horrifically long video. I'm considering just filming here more often. I'm quite comfy. I'm not gonna tag anyone because I don't have friends, but if you do want to do this, then just say I tagged you. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Bye.